Barnaby Bunson was no ordinary baby goat. While his siblings contentedly munched on hay and napped in the sun, Barnaby's bright blue eyes were always scanning the horizon. He yearned for adventure beyond the familiar fence of Farmer McGregor's sprawling farm. His fluffy white fur seemed to shimmer with anticipation, and his tiny tail twitched with restless energy. One breezy morning, a particularly juicy-looking dandelion sprouted just beyond the fence. Barnaby stretched his little neck as far as it could go, but it was just out of reach. If only I could just squeeze through, he thought, his tiny brow furrowing in concentration. With a wiggle and a grunt and a bit more determined pushing, Barnaby felt a triumphant pop as he squeezed his small body through the gap. He tumbled onto the soft grass on the other side, a triumphant bleat escaping his lips. Freedom. First things first. The dandelion. Barnaby nibbled the bright yellow flower with gusto, savoring its slightly bitter taste. It was even more delicious than he had imagined. With his initial quest fulfilled, he looked around, taking in his surroundings with newfound wonder. His gaze fell upon a bright red ladybug, crawling slowly along a blade of grass. Barnaby had never seen anything quite like it up close. He cautiously approached, his nose twitching with curiosity. The ladybug, seemingly unfazed by the giant white creature looming over it, continued its slow journey. Barnaby watched in fascination as it eventually took flight, its tiny wings whirring. His adventure continued as he wandered towards a babbling brook that gurgled merrily through the farm. The sound was enchanting, and Barnaby had never been this close to water before. He dipped a tentative hoof into the cool water. It felt surprisingly refreshing. He splashed playfully, sending tiny droplets flying into the air. Suddenly, a shadow loomed over him. Barnaby looked up and saw a large, fluffy sheep staring down with mild curiosity. The sheep was much bigger than him, and Barnaby felt a tiny pang of nervousness. Well now, and what have we here? The sheep bayed softly, its voice surprisingly gentle. Barnaby, mustering his courage, explained his great escape and his exciting discoveries. The sheep listened patiently, its large brown eyes blinking slowly. As the sun began to dip lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the farm, Barnaby started to feel a little homesick. He missed the warmth of his mother and the familiar smell of hay. The kind sheep noticed his change in mood. "Lost, little one?" she asked gently. Barnaby nodded, a small bleat of sadness escaping him. Sheep, being much taller, could see the distant barn. "Follow me," she said, and began to walk slowly in that direction. Barnaby trotted gratefully by her side. Soon they reached the familiar fence. The gap Barnaby had squeezed through was still there. With a little encouragement from the sheep, Barnaby wiggled back through, landing safely inside his enclosure. His mother rushed over, nudging him with her head and letting out a worried bleat. Barnaby snuggled close, feeling relieved to be home. He might have had a grand adventure, but there was no place like the safety and comfort of his family. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Barnaby drifted off to sleep, his dreams filled with ladybugs, babbling brooks, and kind, fluffy sheep. He knew this wouldn't be his last adventure, but for now, he was happy to be home.